welcome back to New Meta Podcast, episode 183. Back from the Stockholm Major, where we've consumed many Dota. Adam hasn't consumed any Dota, he's been away. But nevertheless, going to fly into another episode with actually quite a few talking points, not just the tournament, but some other bits and bobs as well. Marco, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Doing very, very well, thank you.
Nice. Uneventful travel day. Just comfortable.
It was pretty straightforward. We were all fretting about, how long does security take? Someone read an article about, Swedish, Stockholm, staff shortage, all this shenanigans, and then I rock up at my security, fly through in like 15 minutes, and then go,
really?
Shit.
Oh my god.
I then okay, I got 2 hours to kill. Just sat outside the gate. So, immensely over-prepared, and then saw Odie and Shiva getting the same flight. Just gave them a little bow, like silently to myself. The gods of Dota talent, god and goddess.
Yeah.
So it was a fine flight.
I baited you a bit because when I arrived, the queue was like ungodly. It was the longest queue of all time for security. It was a different terminal. It was Terminal 5, and I asked a guy at the back of the queue, like a staff who was like just there to help people. I was like, "Oh, how long from here to the front?" And he said, usually an hour and 45 minutes. And when he said that, it was 9 a.m. and my flight was at 10:40. So I was like, well, if that is the case, then I'll miss it. And also, I mean, obviously I'm not going to just like sit in the queue as my flight goes. I would just go to the front. But also, there's usually, or at least when I've come back from Spain, there was a massive queue for passport control. So I was thinking there was going to be not just this huge queue for security, but then another huge queue for passport. And in the end, the queue took like an hour, just over an hour for me. And then passport, there was literally a queue of like 3 people for passport control. So it's fine. It was actually fine. But I had just, I put on the chat like, make sure you allow loads of time. Yeah. And then it was fine. So
Debate.
Yeah, I debated. Yeah. How you doing? How you doing, Adam? How you doing over there?
I'm good. Good.
Nice.
If you don't consume the content, you can't get upset by it. So I am surprisingly doing really well.
Nice. Yeah, you're doing better than Marco.
Yeah, I actually was so salty this weekend. Oh man, I needed Adam there to kind of feel my pain. I just sat.
We could have been pillars of salt together.
Oh no, honestly, I was just surrounded by the most one-sided, biased OG fans who were so annoying. I was on the wrong side.
We were on the wrong side every day. Actually, day 2 I was OG, but then in the finals, I needed some of that TSM flavour. Well, that was, to be fair, that was decent TSM chance in the finals. Pretty good. That was pretty even-ish crowd.
Yeah, they won one game, and the game they won, and therefore were doing well. The crowd did manage to muster up support, but one of the first comments about the event, fucking Seb would press win run, dodge like a right click, crowd goes wild. TSM or any other opponent would do some sick high level gank, like 4D gank, sick Dota 2, like whoa, well played, what silent crowd, just no appreciation or kind of sportsmanship. Honestly, I was tilted for many hours this week.
Take everything Marco says with a grain of salt. There was a huge TSM chance. TSM.
There was a couple which were pog.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, let's just fly right into it, because usually we do games, and I actually have played a couple of games upon return, but let's maybe revisit that a bit later. Event recap. Do you want to do a little rundown
Where's
of the games?
Where's the content? Where's the live pod?
The True Site.
True Site didn't happen.
Too busy watching games.
Feels bad.
Got to see a bit of Stockholm as well, so the travel pod coming soon. When we watched the last Dota event there, I feel like we degened it so hard.
Well, the last event
this time,
I'm very certain had 4 best of 3s on a couple of days.
You're right, yeah.
And so there were long days, and they were better, longer series as well, which some of the days back then were till midnight kind of thing, I remember.
Yeah.
Whereas this event, they made it 3 best of 3s and then the grand final day, so a bit more conservative and just not as intense for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that 4 best of 3 day was crazy. It was really late. I remember because there wasn't actually that many people there at the end, and it was like it was kind of odd at the end. There was like hardly anyone there, and they were like, "Thanks for staying in the arena. Like, see you tomorrow." And it was like, "Yeah, we've gone midnight."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was all a bit more reasonable this time.
Yeah. What was your overall sense of the event? Because I feel like there are some interesting like overtunes. I don't even know what you call it. I don't know.
Oh yeah, overtunes.
Overtunes. I don't even know. Quick Google. But yeah,
overtures.
Overtures. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, introduction to something more substantial.
Yeah, because it was obviously no Chinese teams, no VP, usual staple of these kinds of events. EG and Team Spirit both got knocked out pre-main event. Wasn't, at least sometimes it was wasn't like packed to the brim, although I think it did get a lot better.
Yeah, every day it got better.
Yeah. So it was a bit of an odd. It was a bit of an odd event actually, and also maybe because I wasn't prepared for it, and the season hasn't. It's an odd kind of part of the season because of DPC. It felt like there wasn't a lot of run-in to the event, so it just sort of felt a little bit odd. But it was still just like you're watching live Dota, so it's still sick. I mean,
yeah, I don't know what the gap was between the seasons finishing versus the tournament starting. It does feel like is it offline? The pre-crowd tournament versus the final 3 days of the tournament feel very different. So I do think it was a very competitive, exciting, high-quality major up until the last 3 days. And not to try to trash on the experience, it was absolutely phenomenal. I'd love to do it again next week. But when you even just clicking on Wikipedia, looking at the game matches prior to Friday, I mean, upper bracket semi-finals, 64-minute game, 100 TA, 47. You've got 44, 45. You've got competitive games going long. If you go on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you've got a swathe of 30, 31, 32, 27 minute games, where that kind of length is indicative of pretty much stomp and very one-sided. And I do think in the final 3 days, you mentioned China, I think we missed China. I feel like when you had 14, 16 teams competing in the groups and in the early stages of the playoffs, it felt okay that China wasn't there. But then once you kind of got to the top 6 and there's no China presence, it felt, we were missing that quality and that different meta and that different play style, and they would bring something different to the table. They would force people to change their strategy, and they might steal some meta from China and vice versa. So it does feel like the last 6 days, or last 3 days, top 6 teams did miss to China. So obviously OG hater, I'm calling this the fake major and all that. But
yeah, it's an interesting one with the format, because basically what we saw was an upper bracket final, Tundra TSM, that goes 3 games, decent-ish game. Like, that was quite a good, reasonably good series. Like, I remember, thinking that was pretty good. But then other than that, you're actually just watching a lot of OG. You watched like 3 OG series in a row, pretty much.
Whoa, yeah, we watched 4 OG series.
Yeah, we watched 5.
4, 5.
We watched 5. We watched them beat Fnatic, Thunder Awaken, Gaming Gladiators, Tundra, and then TSM.
That's right. God, that is insane.
Yeah.
5 OG series. If you're an OG fan, I guess you're absolutely loving life. But for a non-OG fan, to see the same team 5 times.
I think but that was what I'm saying is, like, when we think about the narrative of it being kind of a bit dead, it's actually also just because OG just found another gear that like none of the teams could answer. They're just so much better than all the other teams. Like, if you look at their run, it's like it is that game 3 versus Fnatic where it went 64 minutes. You know, the like Enigma versus Tree mental game, like Ember versus Morph, sick game, OG win, and then after that it's literally just like, they literally 2-0 every team in 30 minutes, literally. And then you get a grand final where they again 2-0 into 30-something minute games, and there's one game 3, that's like 41, that's like decent, and a game 1, like non-contest draft win. So it's almost like you say with China, it would have been a lot cooler if there was another team on another level. You know, if you got some OG LGD final, it could have been more interesting.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I mean, it is difficult to say because it's not like TSM didn't play well. It just felt like they couldn't.
One comment I have, and this is like to enlighten Adam a bit of what I've thought of, this last 3 days of the event. What I found disappointing was that, and it is a mental game, and playing on the main stage is different to playing pubs at home and online tournaments, etc. But I did strongly feel that every team until TSM in the grand final played subpar when they came up against OG, aside from Fnatic. So what I honestly think happened, Fnatic, OG, best of 3, third game in 64 minutes, OG end up clinching it. It's on the stage, crowd going wild. It's the first time they've seen OG.
First time OG had played on a main stage, apart from
first time all those little babies have been on a stage playing Dota. So it's a huge moment for them mentally and for the crowd and all this. And then I feel like after that moment, so against Thunder, Awaken, Gaming Gladiators, Tundra, which are all 2-0 stomps, I feel like the other team's just going, oh crap, OG have kind of hit a stride. They've got insane crowd support, like insane crowd support. This is the first time TIOG's been like on a stage after 2 years of no crowd events. People are going wild for OG. It's getting into people's heads, and then they've got them playing out of the mind, like Seb's playing out his mind, Yuragi's playing out of his mind. The enemy team just crumbled. They made, I swear to God, so many mistakes and just poor play that OG then just snap and just rip the throat out. And yeah, they played well, they played fast, etc. But it wasn't, from my perspective of what I understand in Dota, I was watching these games thinking, that's a clear mistake. That's a clear, like, you've just done some move or you've stayed in this area clearly too long, misplayed. And I'm not obviously a god at Dota, but there are some things that I can still recognize and go, that's surely suboptimal. And like, I think the pressure's getting to them, and I think they choked, played like 80% capacity, and OG are just like feeding off this energy, so kind of comfortable and playing 100%, if not 110%. And then they just capitalize on all these chokes and win games in 30 minutes. And so it felt like a lot of the series were, to a degree, snoozy. Obviously kind of exciting seeing fast-paced Dota, OG being immensely clinical, but it wasn't like your 50-minute neck-and-neck kind of stuff that you hope to see at the latter end of a stage tournament.
Yeah. I think that's relatively fair. You're always going to be looking out for mistakes when OG are playing, like from the other team. But there was definitely like
there was some really
bad stuff, yeah,
poor stuff, like seriously sloppy or choky kind of decisions, or misplays.
Yeah, although to be fair, it's like OG did basically crush like 4 series in a row, and it's not like every team's going to have the same like mental state. You know what I mean?
It felt like it, honestly. I didn't think anyone until TSM played at their level.
Yeah, but I think Gaming Gladiators and Tundra both would have come into the series thinking they'd win. Because OG and especially Tundra, because they always beat OG, at least the last at least this iteration of EG, they usually have their number.
Yeah,
OG do have a thing of being like they do definitely like rattle teams when it's not going well in the game, because they are like very ruthless. They're more ruthless than other teams. So, for example, Tundra, when they pick this Visage, 33 Visage, that's, you know, winning them a million games, and then when it starts to not work, it feels like inevitable that OG will just crush and win. Then it happens. It's not like, teams aren't very good at steadying the ship and staying on course, and then they leak a lot. But
they did.
And OG put that pressure on, and the teams couldn't handle it.
Yeah, they couldn't, and that's like credit to OG. The way they play is, get an inch, take a mile, things like this. But if it was an LGD with veterans and they're 5k behind, you're not writing them off. But when you've got all these tier 5 teams who've never played on a main stage, who you were absolute nobody 6 months ago, they've come to a main stage, big crowd. It's not even just crowd and main stage. It is like ruthless support for OG, like disgusting support for OG. that is going to get in your head, and then they end up choking. And I also think OG's drafting was good. They picked Razor and Viper and stomped lanes and like set themselves up comfortably for like these 15-minute, 18-minute timings, win a team fight, because it did outplay a bit of a couple skirmishes, and then the game would just roll from 20 to 30. So I do think the drafting was always strong. I mean, Gaming Gladiators, second game, last pick AM. It's like, yeah, let's give Duraccio, let's find out how old this geezer is. Let's give, this is kind of funny, let's give our 20-year-old Duraccio, who's played like 3 tournaments, 2 online cups in his life, played a couple DPCs, first main stage, fucking last pick AM against OG in this crazy main stage event, and like expect him to carry mentally in what's always going to be a ridiculously hard game when you're AM against Razor and Wraith King and Void Spirit, Windranger. It's like, yeah, you're probably not going to win. Oh wait, you get stomped. What a surprise. It's like, okay. Everyone's just joking. Credit to OG, whatever. Seb played really good, Windranger. Fine. But I am still a bit salty that the game quality wasn't phenomenal. Yeah.
You're also salty that Tier 1 ATF has more majors than Arteezy.
This ATF guy, honestly. So everyone kept first phase banning his Timbersaw.
Timber Razor was first phase in all the finals. No Timber, no Razor.
I think Razor's fine, because he was stomping Razor lanes and doing bits on Razor. He just plays 1 for the off lane. And he always had insane gold, and he
stays in lane, doesn't he? He likes to stay in lane a lot. He's like Adam, honestly. He plays Adam's off lane, just stays in lane. And it's interesting because in game 1, in the grand finals, and maybe we do a little mini section on the grand finals now. In game 1 of the grand finals, Amaz plays Underlord, and TSM have this really like grim push with Death Prophet and Pugna. And Pangolier, and there's a moment where Pango gets a kill mid, and then suddenly DP like TP's mid with Exo, and there's a Pugna there blasting, and Amar just stays in the off lane firestorming waves. Whereas I think any other Underlord player would think, right, I go to where the pressure is and I press firestorm and the push is over. OG lose mid tower, they also like leak 2 deaths, and it's like, oh, this game feels over now. And then that game was probably the biggest stomp of the finals.
Yeah, game 1 was a big stomp. Definitely the draft was really well won by TSM, getting the Enigma, Pango, and Krob. Every game that we saw live to the last 3 days, I thought interesting. Monkey Business to me didn't exist until minute 15, or maybe like 13. Mm-hmm. And like you say, ATF would stay in a lane, would get 6k net worth at 12 minutes, and it was only ever really then that like a skirmish would happen. OG would take a skirmish, win it at 12. Another skirmish would happen at 15, or it might be like 15, then 18. Mm-hmm. And then they'd get Rosh at 18/20, and then they'd rumble the game. I found it interesting that the early game was, to me, very stagnant. It wasn't like, if you think Jerak, Tiny, doing all these rotations and ganks, or like when EG were at their peak and you'd have Crit doing moves and plays, like, and whoa,
Spirit,
like, Spirit ganks, exciting 10 minutes. I had this feeling through all these games that it was very stagnant, 10, 15, because they were simply farming. Maybe, you punish a couple stupid kills, but yeah, they'd farm, and then at 15, they'd turn and go and crush a 5 minutes window, and then the game was easy. Well, that was a kind of interesting.
I think there's a real emphasis on lanes, isn't there? Because it's like, even if you look at the finals, if you look at the carries, Wraith King on one side, and then Monkey, Kunkka, I guess, bit of a weird one, TA, Bloodseeker. None of these heroes are like your Naga Siren, PL, Terrorblade that go and like farm jungle like loads. They all like stick around in lanes. Even when Tomato, whatever, is playing his Wraith King, they stay in the lane. They actually stay in the lane for like quite a while. And the support stay in the lane also for a long time. So it's interesting what you say. It's almost like the lane creeps initially are are just too valuable for you to be rotating around on a tiny or something.
And it felt like the 1, 2, 3 were all just pos 1s. It felt like the mindset was, I'm going to farm until 20.
Yeah, for the
and
first.
Then just skipping through some games here, it's BKB by 20, and then we win, was the mantra of OG, it felt. And that's on pos 1, 2, 3. Even the most kind of classic pos 1 hero OG had in these last few days, I think was, say, the Monkey. 13-minute Battle Fury, 19-minute BKB in one game. And even that is, you've got BKB Battle Fury, you're fighting, you're flying around the map. The Mars picks up, it was BKB 15, the Storm mid, BKB 18, Kunkka mid, pre-20 BKB. They would just farm the early game, get the first key item, or the 2 first key items by 20, and then it was, we're going to make this game finish. We're going to win this game at 20 and then see it out until 30.
Mm-hmm. A shout out, also talking of the grand finals, shout out to the best game of the grand finals, which was this game 3. Nice comeback win for OG, and I thought that was the best, well, I mean, it was the best quality game of the grand finals, both from a viewer perspective and from a gameplay perspective. I feel like some of the other games were a bit like snoozy, mistakey, but then this one was actually really good. Adam would have been... If you'd taken the names and the tags off every hero and you were just watching the game, Adam would have been happy with this. Amar DK that went 8th lens, like first item on DK. I was thinking like, oh, that's the kind of thing Adam would do. Soul Ring, Aether, Blink, Force, Aeon Disc, Octarine, with a shard. So that was quite fun, unusual one. And I thought BZM, Invoker and Yuragi TA played so well, and I watched that game. I just watched that game on from UA. It's the only one that I've watched back, and the BZM Invoker was actually unbelievable, like so good. There was a moment where Bryle gets bashed by Roche that Mason was dynamic friend of the pod was raging about. Yeah, and that was pretty unfortunate.
15% bash chance first hit bash.
Well, he'd been standing in there for a while. It's just as he decided to leave, that's when it bashed him. So it was unfortunate. But yeah, anything else you want to mention on the grand finals before we talk about other things?
Anything on the grand final?
I do think, just while you're thinking, it was interesting to see OG, the monkey business strat. It felt like, I guess, a bit like TI9, that element of Dota strategy definitely ratcheted up the further the tournament went in. So, on previous days, certainly at the end of Saturday, it felt like these Enigma POS 4, Doom POS 4, greedy picks were really working. And it's not to say that they couldn't have worked because OG figured them out. But it did definitely feel like during the grand finals, other than game 1, which was a bit of a special case, because I felt like OG drafted themselves into a position where they couldn't play monkey business because they have Underlord Kunkka cores and Alina, which is just too weak, and they were up against DP, Wraith King, Pango, and they had a POS 4 Enigma, so in that sense that really worked. Other than that, like in all the other games, game 2 they got Storm Spirit, Monkey, Night Stalker cores with a Wind Ranger and a Snapfire, long range artillery. Game 3 they've got DK, Invoker, again with Snapfire. Bit of a different one. That was the good game, and that was less monkey business. That was more just like toe to toe. Yeah, just like more close. And then game 3, they have Storm, Mars, Bloodseeker with a Wind Ranger, and it's like monkey business again. It felt like that drafting strategy went away, and certainly by the end, by the last game, the fourth game, TSM had drafted themselves a much more sort of classically active heroes. Their POS 4 was a Snapfire, their DK Lesh, Wraith King, again all like BKB, early BKB heroes, and then they had this Silencer, which was a bit weird, but it felt like the meta was trending that direction.
Yeah, so my 2 points is I think the monkey business did exist with OG and increasingly appeared throughout the tournament. But my memory of original OG Monkey Business is more 10 to 20 Monkey Business, minute 10, minute 20, that period, running around, kind of chaotic, ganks, fights, etc. The way I saw this OG was Monkey Business happened at minute 20, after they'd won a skirmish or won a Rosh, and then had that edge and that key item like a BKB Storm, and then it was 20 to 30, it was the whole map is choked, there's nowhere safe, the items enable them to play relentlessly fast, the enemy can't step out, the enemy can't make any moves, they can't farm, and 20 to 30 they crushed the opponent with Monkey Business. That's the way I interpreted it this tournament. And then a second point on the grand final again. I feel like the meta in the grand final was a little bit too stale, and I think favoured OG for being stale. In the TSM out, win the draft game 1 and win the game. They've got Enigma, Pango, Krob, Brave King, really strong draft. OG have got this, like you say, Pit, Kunkka, Lina. It's a bit weak, bit slow. But then the next 3 games, OG win. And in the next 3 games, TSM have twice, they've got a mid-lesh. They've twice got a first phase Pugna. In the last game 4, TSM first pick Snap, which I think is really weak opener, which when OG first pick a Storm, and TSM could have picked a Storm, and the game 2 and game 4 Storm absolutely annihilated TSM. A Snapfire is not doing that. They've got Wraith King 3 out of 4 games. So it felt like TSM didn't really mix up the drafting enough. Whereas OG are like, I'm going to have 3 out of 4 Wind Rangers. Seb's being sick on it. I've got 2 Storm Spirits, which have crushed. Okay, Amar, credit to him, plays Bala, then DK, then Mars. So good versatility and always had high impact. But in game 2, 3, 4, OG were always looking to win lanes, as kind of had been the case always. Strong lanes, as we've said, strong lanes into strong farm, into key item timings by 18-20. That was the recipe, and their drafts were solid and able to do that. And I guess TSM kind of run out of steam. They picked this Silencer in game 4 because there were a lot of spells on OG that Global Silence good against, but what happened was the Silencer safe lane with Wraith King got destroyed by Mars Grimstroke. The Beast, the Bloodseeker Wind Ranger destroyed top against DK Snap, which you might think is a strong lane, but maybe it's a close lane, and then they just got outplayed. And then in the mid, it was like Lesh. In game 3 and 4, the Lesh never felt potent like a Storm can feel. A Storm with 4 nulls BKB at 20 is a menace. A Lesh with like a Yule's Kaya, it doesn't feel as crazy. So I do think OG did well on the drafting. It sounds like they've got a million coaches, like Misha and Chu are coaches, and then Seb was kind of coaching, and then Notel isn't coaching but obviously has insight. Feels like they've just got mega brain power resource, but alas, NA can't win tournaments.
I saw on Reddit that they were saying that the Misha and Chu guys were like working 6 hours or whatever. They said they were doing 8 hours a day, and then I was a bit like, I'm mundane. I'm sure there's a lot of analysis and drafting to do, but I was also like, as a coach, aren't you spending like 14 hours a day, like every waking minute, like analysing this tournament? I was like, 8 hours, is that it? Like, you're playing pubs as well. Anything else you want to bring up here? I mean, we have stuff other than...
I just want to say that sounds like the worst nightmare event for me. Even though it would have been a lot of fun being with you guys, that to see basically every series be an OG series and it's a full lower bracket run. I mean, monk ass. It's one thing if because it's a lower bracket run, you see more of them. So it's just worst case scenario all around.
I don't think Adam could have sat where we sat. I think he would have to have removed himself from that kind of front, right at the front, hardcore OG. I think it would have been too much. It was honestly too much for me at points. I was pretty mauled. So
that's funny.
Top one for the team.
That's crazy. Looking at that Fnatic game 3, that game 3 against Fnatic that went 60-something minutes. Yeah. They're down 13.5k for quite a while. There's a solid from minute 30 to minute 46. So that's 16 minutes of the game. They're down between 10 and 13k that whole time.
That was the DJ Hoodwink, which was like 12-0-12, yes. Pos 4. Yeah. That Hoodwink did not deserve to lose. DJ played out of this world. I can't exactly remember how the game was. What happened? It's a very long game.
They had mid
Mid-Cottled.
They had Mid-Cottled that kind of failed a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was it. What ended up happening was this Cottle, was super strong and powerful, but then OG started finding these Blink Ravage, Waveform, Morph, below the Cottle kind of pickoffs, and then they started to turn fights that way, and then they had Tiger Enigma, probably did some bits late game. So, yeah, OG played well, but that DJ Hoodwink deserved a win. Didn't get it, sadly. The last thing I'd say about like the grand final is, Adam might appreciate this, the TSM USA chant was one of the best of the weekend, because it's an NA team with no US players.
So yeah, it's got to be like an ironic USA, right?
Yeah, so we started a USA chant.
Yeah.
Home away from home.
Word on production, setup, general. Looking at the notes.
So you didn't see any of the stream, did you, Adam?
No. I mean, I might have saw some clips on Dota Reddit.
Yeah.
I think I watched a game on like Thursday or Friday. I watched one Liquid game.
That sounds pre-main stage then, if it was Liquid.
Yeah, that was pre-main stage, I guess.
That
was it.
I mean, the in-game stuff, standard fine. Camera work was very good, as always. Like JJ, Wepass, normal contingent. The stage felt very ESL, and I think they've got really good stage setup. The screen's good. They've got that information of the players on the right of the screen. I thought they had those cool effects when there was a black hole or an Aegis or a supernova. The lighting was often cool, like going dark and then light again, or just kind of immersive visuals. So I think all that production stuff was really solid. I could only speak positively for that.
Yeah, it's good. I think I don't have anything else to say about that as well. Decent stuff going on with decent stuff for the fans. Some drops, the DHL stuff, the fan zone, decent-ish like food options with the trucks outside. If you're an expert smuggler like me, then it doesn't matter. So we're on the supermarket hype train.
A positive I'd say to the stage setup is where they had the casting panel, or not the casting panel,
just the panel.
The panel, yeah, the talent panel. How that was set up on the premium floor space, and so it was in the mix of the premium seats on the floor, which is really good and what I think it should be, because then you can kind of see and interact with people on the panel. They're kind of going up and down, like walking through the floor seating section. And so, like, me and Marsden, for example, Adam, we went over at one point and asked Jenkins and Fogg a question, just because they're, like, there and abouts, and you can just kind of be like, oh, can I ask a question? And they're like, yeah, sure, go for it. Whereas I know in other events, it makes me think of Katowice, where the panel was in a little booth, kind of in its own space, away from the seating, where it's not in the mix of the crowd as much, whereas when you've got it kind of in the mix of the crowd to a degree, it gives it like a good vibe and like interaction and that kind of stuff. So I liked that. And you had like Gorp and Crit and Jerax and Matamba Man kind of walking around and sitting in the seats and all that kind of good community stuff.
I was actually, I was really impressed with how much the talent and the players were just in and around the event. I thought it would be less, but actually whenever a team got knocked out, you like bump into the players, just like having a sit down or like walking around in the sort of I don't know what you'd call that,
the kiosk bit,
kiosky kind of bit. Yeah, it was really common and testament to the Dota 2 community in a way, because it wasn't like they were really bothered. Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah.
The only people that are bothered are like the super celebs where everyone wants a photo, like Crit, who like can't walk very far without someone asking him. But even someone like Gork, I was surprised that people weren't like being weird with Gork, like going up to him and being like saying like Twitch emotes and then like asking for a photo. They were just sort of chilling out. It was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. I think Gork, he had a seeming girlfriend with him. I feel like that's a really good shield of don't bother me kind of thing.
Yeah, like I'm here.
Like, who wants to go over and like disrupt those two, like just sat chilling as they watch a game, which is fair enough. I do think everyone was very respectful. And even the Crit one, I know there was that time he tried to walk up some stairs and like one person asked for a photo, so then like everyone else had encouragement to do it.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I do remember walking around and
he's
people usually will
around,
like let people be.
Yeah.
So all that stuff's really cool. Got some good picks. I saw a clip of Too Good. James is an ass.
Yeah.
Sad. I think some like post stream thing. It would have been cool to see him. But obviously, he's like banned from Valve events. But he's actually so funny.
Feels bad.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. But they were interviewing him on stream, so it's a bit weird.
Like,
because did you see that where like Slacks and Shiva go and like talk to him?
Was that during the event, or was that
was during the event?
After the event? Was it during the event? Oh, no.
I think so. It was during the group stage.
Oh, really?
It was like pre-main event. Yeah.
That guy's so good.
So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, all round good. Anything else you want to chat about? Shout
out to a singular pod listener. This is actually super hype. I don't think we mentioned this to Adam. I was getting some Ben & Jerry's, which was a highly rated kiosk at the event. I was getting Ben & Jerry's one day, and then there was someone else
ice cream.
Getting some ice cream, and then they were like, oh... So I had my new Meta hoodie on. So big shout out to Stresspresso, who is in the Discord, and is a great fan. We had a great chat. Was like, oh, do you listen to the pod? I think was the first question. Because I had this new Meta like gear on, and then I was like, oh no, me and Stan are at the event. And then I think it clicked, oh, this is one of the podcasters. This ain't just some kind of fan person. And then they were like, oh yeah, listen to the pod, really, really enjoy it. And I was just like, whoa, this is the coolest thing ever, getting to speak to someone who's actually listened to it.
That's amazing.
Super PMA. Yeah, meant a lot to have a little chat.
It would have been interesting if you'd been like, yeah, I'm just a listener that likes it. What do you think about the pod? Get the genuine opinions.
Get the true insight.
They're like, yeah, it's a bit, whatever. Just don't know what they're talking about, but, it's fun listening.
Did you cry and run away?
Yeah.
No, she was super PMA, and yeah, it did mean a lot to us to know that there was a fan at the event that had listened. So big shout out.
Yeah.
They should have had your picture taken, and then everyone had been like, who's this person? And people start lining up.
I've
actually got
out. Something funny happened to me, Marco. That's like that's actually so embarrassing.
Oh no!
It's similar to this, where I thought someone was a fan, but they weren't.
Oh no!
So, and this is another thing. The signs were too small. We need bigger signs.
Yeah.
The DHL sign, you can only write stuff on. You can't like draw a picture. You can't become an artist like us.
Too rectangular. They needed to be wider.
So I was at the station where you draw those. And there was a guy there who who was doing his, and he I was wearing the new Meta t-shirt, and he pointed to the t-shirt, I thought, and was like, like maybe said something in Swedish or didn't say something in English, and was like, and pointing at my t-shirt, and I was like, I didn't know what he was doing, so I was like, oh, what, new Meta?
Yeah,
new Meta, and then he went, oh yeah, new Meta. And I was like, oh, do you know it? And he went, oh, no, I just want your pen. The blue pen I was using to do my sign, and I was like, oh, and I just handed it to him, and I was like,
that could have been so much worse.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse. But I was like, yeah,
could have been worse.
Yeah,
where do you want me to sign your sign? Smiley
yeah, I pick up the pen. I'm like, yeah.
Just start signing his T-shirt. He's like, what the fuck's this guy doing?
Yeah. So
that's your PMA. And then the last point I would shout out at the event is our friend of the pod. I think he goes by Gas Powered Stick in the Discord. In the game, he's called. I could be watching anime. Alas, IRL friend getting the DHL drop segment. He won the DHL drop with a sign. Lyrical is my dad, which was
gets me every time.
Somehow good enough to win the sign contest.
Yeah.
And there was swag in the bag.
Got mega swag off Purge.
The funniest thing, there's so many funny things about that, but it's hilarious that Lyrical, credit to him, came over to meet someone who put on their sign "Lyrical is my dad." I'd do that with some trepidation if I was him. But yeah, that was very funny.
I mean, how did that go?
Missed that.
Did he say how it went? Did he just say like, I don't know? It'd be like, I just put it on there for a meme.
I don't actually. Well, me and Marco weren't there. It was only Mason, so Fiffle, Dynamic, and James himself. So I don't know how that conversation went. I'm sure it was civil. It was probably like, oh, how are you enjoying the event? Like, how are you doing? Probably wasn't like, why did you say that I'm your dad?
Yeah.
DNA test right now.
I'm not your dad.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was good fun.
That was some solid stream exposure for our friend as he unpacked the bag with Purge. That's pretty cool.
Let's shout some things outside of the major, or things we learned during the major that aren't to do with the Dota itself, if that makes any sense. One of them is TI.
Feels bad.
In Singapore. Yeah, Adam, what's going on? Is it ever going to return?
I mean, this basically guarantees we push it back another year.
Do you think?
Yeah, I don't think I can do that.
Won't go ahead?
What do you mean?
Are you saying push back another year because they delay it?
Then I won't be able to attend this year.
Oh, okay. Another year you can't attend.
Yeah. Or like I don't know, what you would want the meeting of the triumvirate of new meta.
Yeah, feels bad.
Will I ever meet these people? No.
We'll make it happen. I hope
the tickets are like $2,000, just plane tickets. So it's like, that's probably not gonna.
Yeah,
it's probably not gonna happen. Although they didn't say a date, did they? They just said where.
October.
Okay. Yeah.
Is Singapore worse than Stockholm for you, flights wise?
Cost wise, probably.
Probably.
I think it's. I mean, I think it's awesome. It's in Singapore. Like that's a really cool place.
Mm-hmm.
Southeast Asia deserves one.
Yeah,
but it's more just like rats. I can't. That one's going to be tough to do.
It is an interesting place to have it because, like you said, Southeast Asia obviously huge. That is awesome that they get that Southeast Asia gets a TI. Also, it's pretty close to China. It's very close to China.
Yeah.
So there'll probably be lots of Chinese fans, and also Singapore has a humongous Chinese population anyway. So there'll probably be huge. I mean, it's bad. I mean, it's bad enough when it's in America, like the China domination. So that will be.
But that'll
be cool. But you need that TI, bit China.
The other feels bad is that not only is it going to be very hard to attend, it is also 12 hours difference. So it's just like sleepy time is Dota time.
So I know for us it's OP because we'll wake up and we just put the stream to the start of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So you could do that as well. You just have to go spoiler.
True.
Make sure you're spoiler free for even longer, like the full.
I mean, I'm sure we'll do the grand final thing on the weekend. I'll just stay up through the night and watch it with y'all or something, like we did last time.
Yeah, that'd be good.
But during it's not very conducive to the work week. I will put it that way.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. I'll have to see how that one goes. In terms of TI next time, I feel like it either goes back to NA, because we've done... Actually, I guess Stockholm, the EU never got their TI, did they? Unless you count TI 10, which was technically in EU, but like no fans could go. So do Valve tick off EU, or do they say that we need one? Or do they go really rogue and they slap one in Peru? That's the
South
question.
America.
I'd travel to Peru for a TI. That'd be pretty fun. Or do they just say it's been away too long? I thought they were going to do Seattle this time because I thought they were so sick of COVID uncertainty, and especially what happened with Sweden this time. I thought they'd be like, let's just have it in our backyard. But seems not.
Yeah. Singapore, I mean, they did that COVID Singapore major.
Yes.
So I think Singapore is like a pretty tight country. Should things be like a bit wobbly. So
yeah.
That's fine.
But then you
honestly
think about Sweden, but
yeah.
Well, I don't know. Sweden did have a bit of a weird COVID approach, I suppose. But anyway, go on. What are you going to say?
Those was a bit up and down. I was going to say, slap in Birmingham.
Oh, can you imagine the hype?
There is not a talent.
I don't feel like there's any way they'd do that.
There's not a talent person who would not say Birmingham was the best LAN tournament they've been at by 200%. Phenomenal experience.
I feel like there'd be absolutely no chance. If they do a UK one, it has to be in London, I feel like.
Why? Birmingham's super accessible. I
just think they will go for a bigger city.
They won't do it in the UK. It's not situated well enough. It's just too out in the middle of nowhere. Like, I feel like if they did a EU TI, I think they'd do it in like Germany or something.
Berlin.
I mean, globally, it doesn't really make a difference, does it? Whether it's in the UK or Germany.
We're close to NA. SA.
Yeah, a bit closer to NA, yeah.
We're like middle of NA, China.
Middle of the world, mate. Centre of the map. You know,
absolute
Greenwich
centre of the world. Yeah.
Colonialists.
But I mean, just honestly, I've reflection on the event. The Birmingham crowd, UK crowd, we might be shite at the game, are absolutely immense esport fans and spectators relative to anyone else. And if anyone disagrees, they can fight me on that point. But there's verbal proof from the likes of Cap and other talent saying ESL Birmingham is the best event I've ever been at. The crowd is insane. Like, verbatim.
That was pretty good. That was a pretty good Kokona accent.
I'm interested to see what Southeast Asia can do, though, because I feel like that is a fan base that I could expect to be, like, very hype. Do you know what I mean?
That'll be insane.
They're going to be more hype than like EU.
And they might just blind cheer China.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they'll be cheering for Southeast Asia, and that'll be hype.
Yeah, unless the Southeast Asians all get, like, you know, priced out of TI, and all the rich Chinese whales just come and instead. We'll have to see about that. Anything else to discuss? Any other orders of business? Do we want to hear about roster shuffles? Anything interesting?
There was a few, so let me get
I think Crystalis has gone to Secret.
Yeah, Crystalis to Secret, which is vaguely interesting. 20-year-old.
He feels like he's been around for a while. Though.
Gives it the vaguely interesting.
Yeah, he was in Creep Wave a few times, B8 in middle of 2020. So he's like this COVID newbie to the scene. High MMR, 12k, it says, since April 2022. So, yeah, just kind of classic, get a super high MMR youngster to play POS 1. I'm sure Puppy will whip him into shape. Then you've got Kezu kicked from Quincy. Not to hate on Kezu, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard, you feel, for the guy getting kicked. But not sure anyone's that interested. There's a Into the Breach. UK stack is disbanded. We had 3 UK players on this. Bill, Adsantic, Tanner. Now free agents by the look of it. So we'll see what happens there. And yeah, I guess we're waiting for EG announcements.
You got to feel like something's changing after you like bomb out of that. But
yeah, and Sumail is a free agent as well. Is the other interesting one, I believe.
Yeah. So,
yeah, how they all like mix and shuffle, if at all, will be interesting.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about our games, and by that, my games?
I am interested in that because so obviously we watched so much Dota this weekend, and we had various conversations around what heroes we want to play or not want to play, and I'll go on with Dota Buff to look at Wind Ranger's statistics, but it has to be the case that she spiked in pick rate after Seb grinded her all week. Yeah, it's gone up a few percentage points in the last few days. But yeah, I'm interested to hear your games. If anyone tried to do some
first
major
game
meta stuff.
I mean, first game, I'd say the only player that tried to do something was the enemy tried to do a Duratio and last picked AM and lost. And he successfully did a Duratio because they got stomped.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, this was just glorious return to Dota, mid-puck, 17-2. And the last death was, like, me diving fountain, like, when the game's already over, so basically 17-1. Although a lot of the kills were also when the game's over, so I don't know. Think of that what you will. Friends of the pod, Aesthetics and Fiffle back in the fold. Good to see. Aesthetics Monkey, good to see. James on, with his new massive mouse mat and all his stuff from DHL, like plus 500 MMR. Nick's Assassin, unplayable. Here's a fun fact for you, Adam. We did a lot of like looking at each other's stats just one evening when we were having drinks because it was kind of funny. And friend of the pod, Dynamic, has a 12% bristleback win rate with like 15 games. So
yikes!
Think of that what you will. But yeah, and then the second game we played. Honestly, I'm just gonna say we just got absolutely schooled by a Bat Rider mid. So I last picked Pugner into Bat, which is really unfortunate because Bat's very good against Pugner. But holy smokes, this Bat absolutely destroyed. It was a great Bat game because we had no stuns on cores. We had Ogre and Rubik supports, and we didn't skirmish very well in the mid game. But this Bat just was an absolute menace, and just completely destroyed us. Got Refresher, Travel, Blink, BKB, like Refresher, Hex, Octarine, like.
So Bat's got 73k hero damage, and then the next highest is Hoodwink with 27k.
Yes.
Then a few with 20k. That's an immense amount of hero damage for a Bat Rider. Is that a Smurf? Or...
Well, Ancient, it says on his profile, Ancient 5, 62% Bat win rate, so he must have just had the game of his lifetime.
Holy schmoly.
Yeah, he played well, and we didn't have the answers for him. We didn't group up in the mid game. We played solo. In my estimations, we played quite alone, and also we weren't quite ready cutthroat to like counter initiate the Bat, because sometimes we did really well, and Bat would jump someone, and we'd turn and kill, but there was too many times when Bat jumped, and we just like weren't ready, and it's just like it was pretty bad.
I'm not sure how ready I am to play games with all this like OG level Dota in my mind. I'm ready to tilt when it just doesn't materialize.
Yeah, that's always the way.
Oh, actually, what I was going to say about my games, I'd be interested to hear if Adam's played any. Looking at mine, not played for 8 days, but I was actually on the major meta as well. I had 2 Mars wins. Mars had been losing every game bar when ATF played it. I had a Wraith King win. Wraith King's done alright, come out quite a bit. Had an anti-mage loss, which, like you say in your game, is pretty on point. And then a couple Lena wins, which I wanted to see more Lena. We saw one Lena lose in the grand final. It was Bet Boom's Law that, to me, played some really cool Lenas, but they didn't make it too far. But I am looking forward to playing. I'm not actually sure what I want to play.
Yeah, fair. Any final thoughts? Anything else to discuss before we wrap it up for today?
I played a 5 Storm Spirit 4 days ago.
What's the
That
build?
was fun.
Max W?
The build is 5 Null Talismans.
Yeah.
So only one less than the mid-storm build.
I went 5 Null Talismans Lincoln Sphere.
That's basically... The funny thing is that's actually what like BCM and the Storms do at the Major, except they get BKB before Lincolns.
Yep. It was pretty cool.
Was it good?
It was giga broken. Yeah, it was super broken. Hero's dumb.
Yeah.
I was laning with the Bloodseeker. So, pull into Blood Right is pretty
do you just
good.
go WE, WE, WE?
I got a point in the Q, so I get proc overload.
Yeah.
But I think I maxed the W and then overload. And just zipped around and was like, why do I have all... I was like, I feel like this is a pretty big zip. Why do I have all of my mana still?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh wait, I have this Giga Broken item. Very cool. Oh wait, I have 5 of them.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see I'll be interested to see what the next patch is for heroes and for stuff in general. It'd be interesting to see where they take it.
One point we said yesterday was how BKB will be changed and whether Ice Frog will want to change the pro meta. Because as we know, pubs don't like to build BKB. It's not in our kit. But in these pro games, it's like, every successful win, 18-minute BKB, 15-minute sometimes. Everything pre-20.
What if you couldn't refresh it?
Yeah, but then I don't like that arbitrary. You can't refresh some stuff, and it still doesn't stop the fact that you're winning games because you have a singular BKB at X time. Like the refresher, whatever, that's not relevant when you've won the game at 30. So I'm interested to see if BKB changes. Something I would like to try after watching BCM do it twice in the grand final is, so he did BKB 4 nulls or 5 nulls, and then went the Shard on Storm. And I know the Shard is good, and it synergizes 25 talent, but it's not one that you'd ever really see people rush. And he got it straight after BKB. Holy moly, it looked like it was powerful. It gives attack speed, gives you that overload stuff. And it just looked really strong, so be interested to try that purposefully.
Yeah, I'd say so as well. It's an interesting one, that Storm Shard. It sort of flies in under the radar a bit.
Yeah. It's not one you think about getting straight away, but yeah.
Yeah. Alright, well, we'll speak again next week where we've got to speak about our own rubbish games instead of actual pro Dota, so we'll see how that goes. Until then, have a final whistle. See you in a week's time.